Here we are with Overwatch This. I'm Jeff from the Overwatch team.
It's happening, YouTube. Welcome to a very special episode of Overwatch This. It's episode number 38. Ben Barrett here, joined by, once again, the esteemed Matt Purslow.
Thank you very much.
The brilliant Matt Purslow, the not Doomfist Matt Purslow. I thought it was him. Apparently it's not.
No, as you can see, there's no Doom here.
There's no Doom to be had. We've had a little bit of information about Mr. Doomfist. That's pretty much what today's episode is going to be about. If you already know everything, we perhaps might have a couple of surprises for you. That would be for the best. So let's kick it right off with the man himself. So all of this kicked off last night with a post on the Overwatch website during the 2017 birthday of America, as July 4th is. That's definitely how that works. Yeah, they posted something on the website. It was one of their kind of in-universe news articles, and it was about Doomfist effectively escaping from prison.
Yeah. So basically, it appears that Talon have done a prison heist.
The baddies.
Basically. Yeah, the bad guys. So yeah, they've broken him out. Helix have kind of put out this report. We already kind of like... The Overwatch universe had kind of got this idea that something bad had happened, but now this was the official kind of news post that Helix Securities, who Farah works for.
Yeah, they're kind of big. They're like they're not like a PMC, right?
They're essentially that.
They're like halfway to a PMC.
Yeah. And basically they were just confirming that there had been a security breach, and Helix have confirmed basically that the person that has been released from prison is Akande Ogodimu,
right?
Who is better known as Doomfist.
Yeah,
the guy that we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, pretty much. And this was kind of the prequel to some of the stuff we saw during the Orisa load in, like the teasers for her, because it says at the bottom that he then escaped and blew up all these robots and got his fist back on Numbani, which is the stuff that happened just before Orisa's kind of reveal, and it was what led to her being created. So, Overwatch's slightly confusing timeline away, coming back into the real world just for a moment, what does this mean for us? When do we think this means he'll show up on the PTR?
Well, I mean, you can have many guesses at this kind of like. So, for example, Kieran, our cameraman, thinks that this might be the start of a longer ARG with lots of kind of lore drops over maybe the next kind of 3 or 4 weeks, maybe even longer. I kind of feel that maybe it's the next PTR drop.
Right, which we would think would be either next week. So at the moment there is a patch on the PTR, that's the loot box patch, which also has the highlights stuff in it. That is expected to hit next week, because that will be like about 3 weeks since it was put up. That is generally how long the PTRs last. Genuinely what happens after that is there is a couple of days, so Tuesday to Thursday, for example, and then another PTR goes up, or there's a week break, so Tuesday to Tuesday, and then another PTR comes up. We would expect him to be on that PTR. If he's coming that soon. Now the thing about the idea that maybe it'll be a longer ARG is they got really a lot in trouble last time they tried to do a longer ARG. Now what they haven't done is done like a medium length one. The Orisa one was like 2 weeks, a week even, and then obviously the Sombra one was far too long, and Anna was a bit of a surprise. She sort of came out of nowhere because of a lot of confusion that was going on during that time. So I would expect it to be shorter. It could be like not the next PTR, but the one after.
Maybe,
I mean, my bet would be that we will know, what his abilities do, what he looks like, if he's voiced by Terry Crews, by, this time next week, or maybe a little bit later than that.
The other thing that's worth pointing out is that obviously last week on Overwatch This we were discussing about the fact that the current PTR kind of had a name that was taken off the error reports, but was originally seen as the Summer Games kind of / Doomfist. So it makes me think maybe kind of like we're building up to this idea that maybe there's a Summer Games that is actually part of an ARG that kind of breaks into a Doomfist event later on. Who knows? But
yeah, because if you kind of assume that there is some sort of sporting event that is linked to within the Overwatch universe, that's the kind of place that he would maybe do a terror attack. Assuming that is the kind of thing he's into doing, which so far seems like a decent idea. Similarly, we would expect there to be a cinematic short of some sort. It's kind of whether that happens now. The other thing is that like Gamescom's coming up.
And they had Bastion as a cinematic last year.
Yeah, and they really like doing stuff at Gamescom. They pretty much see it as like a European BlizzCon. We know nothing about what they're even planning for Gamescom this year. They haven't contacted us to say, oh, can you come and see this and this? There's no kind of hints so far. They haven't really announced anything other than we'll have some cosplay contests and their normal stuff. So it will be interesting to see, once that rolls around, whether whether Overwatch is a big part of that or not. And then finally, there was something weird in one of the trailers, right?
Yeah, so if you remember when Arisa kind of like had her first introduction to the world, we had a trailer, and there was, if you freeze frame it on a section where there's a monitor, on the monitor is 7%.
Right.
There's a toolbox underneath this monitor with a 4 on it.
Right.
4 and 7. That makes the date of yesterday, which was when Doomfist was essentially hinted to be definitely coming.
Yeah, it was kind of the start of his ARG. Interestingly, at least according to the Reddit post where we got most of this from, there was, there wasn't any other numbers in the trailer.
No, yeah.
It's not like, so this is, it is a straw grab, but it is, it's an intelligent one.
It feels fairly solid,
yeah. So that's kind of everything we know about, how he's going to be when he comes into the game. There's also been a load of leaks. You can go and watch some of our previous episodes about, 4chan leaks and people predicting what his abilities are going to be and that sort of thing. There was also a lot of 4chan leaks about a monkey that could mind control people. So maybe, don't take all of them without a pinch of salt, at least. We also want to talk a little bit about the man himself in terms of the in-universe stuff. All right, it's lore time, Matt. Give me the lore. What do we know about the third iteration of Doomfist?
Right, yeah. So that's the first important thing, is that this is the third Doomfist. Doomfist is not one character. It's not, like Symmetra or Trace, something like that. I know that those are code names for those characters, but Doomfist is a code name that has been passed down through a succession of now 3 different people.
The way they've always compared it is, if you're familiar with DC, for example, Green Lantern isn't just one guy, it's the guy who has the ring that protects that sector of space. In this case, it's the guy that happens to have the big old
the
gauntlet.
Doomfist. Yeah, it would appear that there are actually different Doomfist gauntlets as well. But basically the way that you can tell this is in, I believe it's on the Numbani map, there is the cultural centre that you can go to. There are 3 posters, of which 2 currently have images on them. A third has got like a silhouette. And basically there are these 3 Doomfists that go by 3 different kind of nicknames. So you've got the Saviour, who is the first Doomfist, and then you've got the Scourge, who's the second Doomfist, and the Successor, who's this guy in silhouette. So what that suggests to me, like, we don't really know what this is, but like if you read into it, it maybe is a case of that the Saviour was a guy that had got a Doomfist that was using it for good. Maybe he did something lovely for the Numbani army or something.
It seems like, obviously in the Overwatch world, Africa's gone through quite a lot of development, and it would seem to me that perhaps, he, reformed the country and maybe helped build, literally helped build, given he's so powerful and that sort of thing. The second one's called the Scourge, probably not.
And he looks distinctly evil, kind of like you've got sort of like the Saviour is sort of like he's got a really kind of bold sort of presence, but the Scourge is sort of like he's bent over and he looks distinctly kind of awful, basically. And then we've got, obviously, the Successor, who is the Doomfist that we're looking at now. This is the Doomfist, presumably, that we'll be playing. Who is he the successor to? The Saviour or the Scourge, I guess, has always been the question. I think if they've broken him out of prison...
if Talon's doing it.
He's definitely the Scourge, right? So he's a bad guy. The prison break itself was carried out by Talon. Primarily, Reaper was the guy that actually went into Helix's facility.
Killed like a dozen people or something.
Lovely
guy as always.
There were 12 people that they found dead, and when the coroner's report came back, all of the sort of like scarring was representative of what they knew that Reaper had done before. Presumably, not only does he leave massive, horrible shotgun marks on them, but probably his actual reaping skill.
Well, now that they've changed it slightly in the actual game, it makes a little more sense that he kind of, he sucks the life out of people as when he's nearby.
What the other thing that they said is that the actual breach that Talon did probably released more people. It wasn't just Doomfist was obviously the key person they wanted to break out, but I mean, does this suggest that there might be other, like, basically...
I think it's a setup. I think it's an open setup. I think it's not them saying, we're definitely going to do 3 more people who escape from this Supermax facility. It's them saying, if we ever want to have another criminal character or
they can
even a wrongly accused character or something, they can say, oh, he actually got out in this prison break that you know about.
I mean,
they like tying things together like that.
Yeah, it's clever. And also the other thing is that we've not actually... Doomfist will be our first Talon character that has been added as part of like the DLC.
Yeah, the first proper bad guy as well.
Yeah, because Sombra was kind of like... She's more of an anti-hero, isn't she?
And she's a freelancer, like she works for them, and you see in her cinematic how she isn't entirely loyal. So and then on top of that, there's some stuff in there about like UN giving more money to Helix, and worries about rise in PMC.
Yeah, exactly. So sort of like since Overwatch got disbanded, kind of like PMCs have become kind of like the key security and law enforcement firms that are like not just in sort of like the West, but everywhere. You know, all of these massive countries that, you know, obviously Helix probably being an Egyptian kind of company because that's that, you know, all of Pharaoh's kind of lineage comes from there.
Yeah.
And so the news report was sort of like, people are getting a bit concerned that like if Helix are the people that are in charge of keeping our supervillains in a prison, and not only is this, they've had this break, but they also had a sort of like a breakout in Egypt as well.
Yeah, there's the whole like the God AI thing as well,
Yeah,
right? There's that whole kind of story there. It seems like Helix aren't not very good.
But basically the UN are pumping money into this, and you know, people that were kind of like are critical of this are like, well, we didn't have this problem with Overwatch. Overwatch weren't letting supervillains out all their incentives. You know, should we have disbanded them? You know, should we not be thinking about bringing Overwatch back?
I feel
Which
like
kind of links into the larger story, doesn't it?
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of the maybe the end game, and I mean, you know, I'm talking like maybe 2 or 3 years down the line where it will come to like a new Overwatch being formed. That was the whole idea of Recall as well, which is, you know, the first cinematic and way back when. So yeah, I can see all of that coming together, but I think it's going to take a long time to get there. I think they're going to have multiple kind of, there'll be like a Doomfist arc now, I think, you know, where we learn about, you know, what he's doing and why he's such a dickhead, basically, and, you know, all the stuff he's doing that makes people want to bring Overwatch back, and then we'll have like another event.
Yeah.
And there's all the stuff that's kind of happening tertiary in the comics as well, with like Bastion reappearing and all the rest of it. So yeah, I think there's a lot of setups here.
Yeah, it's the end goal of like a 7-season TV show, isn't it, basically?
Yeah, I think so. And, or you want to think about like phase 1 of Marvel, which was all leading up to a reformation of, you know, a super team in that case, and then we need some bad guys to fight.
Yeah. So obviously they put Thanos in there.
Yeah,
like,
so
that's where we're building.
Expect Overwatch Thanos in the next 10 years or so. All right, that's just about everything for this week. Expect much more Doomfisting next week, and indeed the week after, and probably for about the next couple of months. He's going to be on the top of our minds, and hopefully in our hands soon enough. If you enjoyed the episode, please do hit like. It really does help, and do subscribe while you're down there. We need to get those Diva statues. So, you know, they're like 450 quid each. Come on now, we need your help. Do keep it tuned to PCGamesN and also the website itself. Lots more coming up this week. We will have another episode next week. I will not be here because I'm going to be on holiday. I'm going to be lying face down, probably in the road, to be honest. But Matt will be here, and so will a mystery other guest, no doubt. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.